where Adin where Adin Ross didn't do something worse than Destiny. Literally no observable universe in which Destiny was worse than...
I think it's very similar in terms of the toxicity, in terms of the overall harm to like random content creators in general. Yes, their operational methods are pretty similar. It's not incorrect. Yeah. Doxing, swatting, going after content creators, going after...
Excuse me, who are all these content creators that my audience has doxed and swatted? That's Hassan's audience. What are you talking about? You literally platform Bad Empanada. Like, his audience outwardly literally does this. What?
People that are in the trust and safety side of things. Like,
oh, he's trying to blame all of this on Dan's Israel, whatever. But these are VPs whose names are... Like, are we considering it doxing to call out, like, named VPs of Twitch? I mean, if you want to go that route, fine. But basically all forms of boycotting or talking about any... Like, then talking about, like, Bezos or Elon Musk or any of their, like, head management or whatever would all be... I don't know. That's wild.
Destiny, I would go so far as to say, is like gone above and beyond, even beyond what Adin Ross has done. Adin Ross, as far as I know, has not tried to like dox people that work at Twitch directly. Having said that, on the politics front, yes, of course, Adin Ross has significantly worse statements than even Destiny.
Wow, thanks. Adin tried to Destiny? No, his whole community was doing actively. When he was screaming and having a breakdown on that podcast episode, his whole community was spamming, posting to my house, to my kid's house, to everything. Yeah, what do you, like... Okay, but yeah, I guess we're the same. Base, we are the same. True king.
Destiny has never been shy about conflict, but few clashes capture the web of hypocrisy, projection, and rivalry in the streaming space, quite like his reaction to clips of Asmongold and Hasanabi discussing him in the same breath. One moment, Asmongold is defending him, pointing out that despite Destiny's controversies, Adin Ross has done far worse damage in terms of toxicity and societal influence. The next, Hasanabi takes the opposite stance, insisting that Destiny has crossed lines even beyond Adin, citing supposed doxing incidents as proof. For Destiny, this juxtaposition was not only enraging, but also deeply revealing about how narratives are manufactured around his name. At the core of Asmongold's defense was the simple recognition that Adin Ross has used his massive audience to promote openly bigoted, conspiratorial, and often destructive messages. Ross has platformed extremists, pushed scams, and normalized rhetoric that appeals to some of the worst impulses online. Compared to that, Asmongold saw Destiny's brand of confrontational debate and internet squabbles as operating in a different universe entirely. For him, the idea that Destiny was the greater danger was absurd, almost laughable. But Hasanabi wasn't laughing. His take framed Destiny as worse, pointing to alleged doxing incidents and efforts to mobilize his community against Twitch employees and other creators. This wasn't just criticism, it was an escalation that cast Destiny as not merely toxic, but fundamentally malicious. Hassan went so far as to claim that Destiny's behavior outpaced even Ross's, that his supposed campaigns against individuals crossed lines that no content creator should touch. Destiny's response was immediate and fiery. He pointed out the blatant double standards, noting that Hassan had no issue-platforming, unhinged personalities like Bad Empanada, whose own community was notorious for harassment campaigns. The irony wasn't lost on Destiny. The same person accusing him of empowering dangerous actors had himself elevated a figure who made harassment and instability a central feature of his brand. In Destiny's eyes, Hassan's outrage wasn't grounded in principle, but in rivalry and personal animus. This back and forth revealed something larger about the streaming ecosystem. For years, Destiny has been a lightning rod, someone whose confrontational style, willingness to debate anyone, and refusal to back down from controversy has earned him enemies across the spectrum. At the same time, he has been one of the few creators consistently engaging directly with bad faith actors, white nationalists, conspiracy theorists, grifters, at a time when many others refused. The irony is that this openness, which some saw as brave, was interpreted by others as reckless or enabling. To his detractors, Destiny wasn't exposing extremists, he was legitimizing them. To his defenders, he was one of the few attempting to challenge them head-on. The accusations of doxing became the flashpoint in this particular confrontation. Hasan framed Destiny as someone weaponizing his community against individuals, including Twitch staff. Destiny pushed back, arguing that calling out executives or high-level employees at massive corporations was no different than publicly criticizing figures like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. To Destiny, this wasn't about harassment, it was about accountability. If Twitch executives were making decisions that reshaped the platform and impacted creators, calling them out by name was not doxing, it was transparency. The problem, of course, is that online communities rarely operate with clean boundaries. Once names are put into the ecosystem, the line between criticism and harassment can blur quickly. Destiny acknowledged this risk, but refused to accept the framing that he was uniquely responsible for the worst behavior of people in his orbit. He pointed out the hypocrisy of pretending that his community was uniquely toxic when every major streamer has examples of their fans crossing lines. Hasan's audience, for example, has been notorious for brigading, harassing, and dogpiling on smaller creators, sometimes with Hasan's tacit approval. Yet in those cases, Hasan rarely acknowledged responsibility. That double standard was at the heart of Destiny's frustration. If accountability extends to community behavior, then no major creator is innocent. But if the rule is selectively applied, it becomes less about principle and more about weaponized narratives. Whoever is already disliked can be condemned for actions others quietly excuse in their own spaces. Destiny's point was simple. If Hasan wanted to hold him to account for every bad actor in his orbit, he should apply the same standard to himself. The deeper issue is that Destiny and Hasan have long represented two different models of political content on Twitch. Hasan has built a brand around progressive commentary that appeals to a large audience but avoids direct engagement with his ideological enemies. He reacts, critiques, and positions himself as a commentator rather than a combatant. Destiny, by contrast, has defined himself through debate, inserting himself directly into hostile spaces and facing adversaries that most mainstream commentators wouldn't touch. This stylistic difference has fueled years of rivalry, with each framing the other as reckless, hypocritical, or cowardly, depending on the moment. What made the Asmongold clip so significant was that it disrupted the usual narrative. Asmongold, a massive figure in the gaming world, openly stated that Adin Ross's harm far outweighed Destiny's. Coming from someone outside the tight-knit political bubble, it carried weight. For Destiny, it was vindicating to hear another influential voice point out the obvious. Whatever his flaws, he wasn't on the same level as Ross, who had built his platform around normalizing extremism and scamming his viewers. Hasan's counterclip, then, felt to Destiny like a desperate attempt to reframe the conversation, to ensure that Destiny remained the villain in the public imagination. By invoking doxing and harassment, Hasan wasn't just disagreeing, he was attempting to paint Destiny as radioactive, untouchable, worse than even the most notorious figures in the space. That framing, Destiny argued, had nothing to do with reality and everything to do with personal rivalry. At the same time, this conflict exposed how fragile the boundaries of accountability are in online communities. What counts as legitimate criticism? What counts as harassment? When does calling out a public figure cross into doxing? These are questions that don't have clear answers, but they are constantly weaponized in battles between creators. The very ambiguity allows rivalries to escalate into accusations of moral depravity, with each side convinced the other is uniquely dangerous. For Destiny, the incident was another chapter in his ongoing battle against what he sees as hypocrisy in the online left. Hasan, in his view, has built a career off moral posturing while refusing to acknowledge his own complicity in toxic dynamics. Platforming figures like Bad Empanada, presiding over a community that has repeatedly engaged in harassment and dismissing criticism whenever it points inward. These are, to Destiny, far worse sins than anything he has done. The idea that he should be singled out as worse than Adin Ross was, in his mind, absurd beyond belief. Ultimately, the clash wasn't just about who was worse, Destiny or Adin Ross. It was about who controls the narrative of accountability in streaming.